into maybe some alternate builds that could have higher potential, maybe a little bit more skill dependent, but can also do quite a bit more. If you guys have seen me play the last few seasons in Storm League, you'll know that I don't even think it was this account, but you'll know that Kael'thas for me has been a very high win rate, 6-2 this season so far. And one of the things for me that I try and let people know is Kael'thas is only as good as your opponent lets you be. It's kind of like playing against the Zul'jin in the essence that if your opponent spreads Living Bomb, that's good. If your opponent doesn't spread Living Bomb, you better hope that you get damage elsewhere. Dodging Q is really hard for people. Kael'thas is very popular at lower levels because it's easy to get value out of him. However, there is another level you can take this to. A lot of people, you'll see a really default build that is very common, but I want to talk about a build that's better, stronger, has higher damage potential, and still really easy to function with. Everybody knows you put a Q down, you put a W down, you've got your E for your gravity laps. Very few ranged assassins have a stun, so this is pretty tremendous. You can interrupt mosh pits, you can set up your own kills, you can QE, you can EQ, and W all in the middle of that. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but it also allows you to set up your own kills, which is a lot of something a lot of heroes struggle with. Just a quick note, when you're clearing minion waves, you don't have to DQ, okay? That's the most common misconception. Sometimes they position themselves a little weird. Post level 4, I think, this is instant, maybe 5. But you D, so you get a free cast on your W, you dot the middle mage minion, and your Q is enough to hit all 7 minions. Sometimes it might be 6 if they positioned weird, but don't DQ. You're slowing your own cooldown down. You're spending unnecessary mana in that situation because now your DQ, your W. I guess you're not necessarily spending more, but it's taking more effort when you don't need to. You can save that a little bit differently. I guess DQ saves you more mana, but we're not going to talk about that. You don't have to. You don't have to press DQ. It's unnecessary. So, anyways. It's pretty basic, right? You can set up your own kills, pressing W on somebody. Also, DWW is normally going to be much stronger than hitting everybody else. Before we get into some of that, let's talk about the talents. If you're going Convection, it's not good. It's not good, okay? You have mana issues throughout the entirety of the game. Even if you have a Malfurion who's going to innervate you, which Malfurion is in and out of the meta, and right now out of the meta at the time of this video, it's not good. This is pure damage that does not scale, right? If you don't finish this ever, you're missing out on a lot of damage. Now, you're already doing a lot of burst damage, but post 13 is when your cooldown reductions come in, and you're playing for cooldown reductions so you can just light up people over and over and over and over. And Convection doesn't do that. Convection gives you single burst damage, and if you miss, there's nothing going for you, and you're all in on that, and it's kind of a meme. Mana Addict gives you infinite mana late game. Once you have 20 globes, you have a 100% shield equal to your maximum mana for 4 seconds. For a team fight, this is really good for you because you can now survive lots of damage, 100% of your maximum mana. Your base mana is 500. You get 20 globes, that's times 15 to increase that. All of a sudden, you're talking about hundreds. Late game, you're talking about 1,000 damage shield, right? That is a tremendous amount of shielding, and plus you're going to have infinite mana late game. By the time you're level 16, you should have 0 mana issues. Running Convection, you run way too many risks for very little reward. Mana Addict is the way to go. Now, at level 4, for some reason, a lot of people out there love this, restoring mana via Mana Tap, especially if you go Convection. At this point, you don't need this. You're going Mana Addict. Mana Tap is not worth it in any shape or form. Nether Wind is the de facto. This allows you to hit targets that you can't normally hit. Post level 20, when you go the Flamestrike upgrade, you're going to have more range, so you can set up your own combos from even further away, but it also can help you pick off people. It can help you, your teammates. You can de-gravity lapse. There's so many different ways to utilize this. plus you're going to get 80 mana back if you hit. Again, you're not going to have mana issues later in the game, but if you miss, it's no big deal. But the increased range on this is so good. Now, Energy Royal is something I've toyed around with against melee heavy teams. If I'm going against a Kharazim, a Garrosh, and a melee assassin and another melee assassin, and they have one range damage dealer, I might consider this because now I can DE more effectively, get the cooldown reduction, get the mana back, and it's going to help a lot. You're going to notice a tremendous difference when you have the extra range of 30% versus, say, Energy Royal. The difference is when you have 4 melee barreling down towards you, you don't need the range. Like, it's not going to matter. But Nether Wind is, for all intents and purposes, is the #1 pick. Now, the one talent tier where everybody starts licking their chops early as a Kael'thas, Burned Flesh. When it hits 2 heroes, they take an additional 8% of their maximum health. This seems really cool. Go back and watch half of your videos and think about the amount of times you're hitting 2 heroes at once. It's probably less than 5 times in an entire game. It really, really is minimal. So then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm not going to hit 2, so Sun King's Fury. Living Bomb that spreads the enemy heroes deals 35% more damage. Sweet. Sweet, more damage, 35% more damage on my Living Bomb, and I know the enemies are gonna spread that Living Bomb. But what if they don't? This hero or this talent does nothing. I want to introduce you to something that I run, and this has the higher skill output, but it also has the higher damage output. By far, it's undisputed. You're going to get guaranteed value out of this pretty much every time. And this is a more consistent. This allows you to 100 to 0 somebody by yourself. You don't have to worry about the other talents. This is more for single target damage, but it also affects your AoE damage because whenever you activate Verdant Spheres, which is a very short cooldown of 6 seconds, you're now going to get increased auto attack damage. And it goes to something that I say at lower ranks, people that play mages are afraid to auto attack, and you can't be afraid to auto attack. If I go in and I DW somebody and I auto attack, and it doesn't matter, I can auto attack a tank, doesn't matter. I just need to attack enemy heroes to get this bonus. 1, I get an extra spell damage on my auto attack, which means your auto attack now hits very hard. Then I'm going to get 15% spell power for 10 seconds, which means that everything that I'm casting does more damage. Yes, 35% more damage on Sun King's Fury is nice, but what if I have 15% damage on this and 15% damage on my Q? All of a sudden, things are looking pretty good. Plus, I'm doing burst damage with my auto attacks. I'll show this in try mode at the end of this so you guys can get an idea of what the difference is between bursting a hero versus doing more and more damage over time. But this right here is hands down the higher skill cap, but also the greater potential and the more consistent. Your other talents are reliant on the enemies or your allies helping you set up to hit 2 as opposed to them spreading the bomb. And if they don't spread the bomb, you have no level 7. Eventually somebody's going to spread the bomb, but that doesn't necessarily going to guarantee value. This guarantees value and has higher damage output. Now, here's the tricky one. Phoenix versus Pyroblast. When is one good versus the other? And to be honest with you, both of them are good. If you want to be able to 100 to 0 somebody, Pyroblast is there. But this is very dependent on what your enemy composition is. In a game earlier today, I was looking at an Anduin, and I had level 10 first. I waited. If Anduin goes Salvation, it doesn't help me if I go Pyroblast. However, if he goes Light Bomb, all of a sudden I can look at this. Am I going against the Lunara who has greater spell shield? Am I going against somebody that has Ice Block? Am I going against teams that have several forms of shielding, whether it's self-shielding, whether it's any form of protection, any of that stuff? Pyroblast has to be the consideration of the enemy team, as does Phoenix. Phoenix is never bad. You could go Phoenix 100% of the time and it's always good. Pyroblast, however, is very situational. It does allow you to 100 to 0 somebody, but you also have to be able to have that threat. There's a tank diving into your team and he's at 70% health. If you've gone Sunfire Enchantment and Pyroblast, you can now start to threaten to kill this guy pretty easily with Pyroblast, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. But this is very dependent on your enemy team and potentially your ally team to be able to fire that up. Now, going back to Mana Addict, the level 1, Pyromaniac, hands down the #1 pick you want to have here. I know that Explosion Radius sounds good, especially when you go Sun King's Fury, but again, you can avoid these things. Pyromaniac allows you to put out a tremendous amount of damage. You can smash an entire team with having Mana Addict at level 1 and Pyromaniac. The amount of cooldowns you get off of your W going out. And again, you can press DWW. You don't want to be pressing DQ. There's almost maybe once or twice you would ever press DQ in a game to begin with. If you press DWW onto 2 targets, all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I've got now insane cooldown reduction. Insane cooldown reduction because I'm pressing D and then W twice. So now I'm getting cooldown reduction off of the living bomb whenever it deals periodic damage. So in that situation, all of a sudden things are looking really good for me to be able to cast Flamestrike more, to be able to cast my E more, to be able to even cast my own W more. And with Verdant Spheres on a 6-second cooldown, you can really get this. Infernal Shrines, you can DWW, you can Q the next wave, especially if nobody's there, and then by the time you're back again, you can DWW again, and all of a sudden you can get 30 minions on your own as long as they're grouping up pretty easily. But Pyromaniac, 100%. I know all the other ones are appealing, but in terms of the higher ceiling that you're going to get, Pyromaniac, hands down. Level 16, Fury of the Sunwell used to be the pick many moons ago, and it still has value on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen where you need wave clear. However, you're going to be getting it in other places. Ignite is way, way too valuable. It's going to apply a living bomb onto a target that you queue, which for what it's worth is pretty easy to get late in the game. Anybody that's slowed, anybody that you gravity laps, you can get those out there. Living bomb, it's all there. There is some appeal to going full talent build or whatever else, or maybe you went convection and you're like, I'm going to press Q twice. Anybody that stands in a Flamestrike twice needs to get their eyes examined because nobody's going to stand in that. Occasionally somebody might accidentally do it, but you don't need Fury of the Sunwell. Ignite's going to do more than enough damage, plus it forces the enemy team. You can W on multiple targets. You can maybe get your living bomb from other ways like Ignite, and all of a sudden, like, if they're on fire and they do run into each other, great. You've now just won a team fight by casting Q and pressing W. However, you could also run into, there's a neat trick late game, right? Where I can W somebody, they're near me, it's a tank, then I can E and then I can Q them, and then it's going to apply 2 living bombs to them. I now have damage there, and all of a sudden that tank is now saying, maybe I can't be here, and you're the sole purpose of that. That's how much damage you can do. Ignite, just way too good. Now, going to level 20, Flamethrower is almost way too good. The cooldown reduction on it is good. The odds of you hitting 2 people, you should not worry about that. You should almost ignore the second half of this tooltip. Focus on the main part. Increase the cast range of Flamestrike by 40%. This allows you to play safer. It allows you to engage from further distances, especially if you went the level 4 talent that gives you range. Now, all of a sudden, your engagement opportunities are endless. You can play safer. You can play more aggressive while also being in a safer distance and safer range. There's so many different things that you could do into this situation with Flamethrower at level 20. Master of Flames, again, I've already talked about Living Bomb. Look, this is a dead talent if the team has a brain at all and doesn't spread fire. Even if you think, ooh, that team's really bad, I'm going to do this. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Presence of Mind, kind of memey. Rebirth, removing this and doing this. Look, if you're getting cooldown reduction, you basically have Flame Strikes that are going out. You're basically a moving Phoenix with your Flame Strikes that are going to constantly be going out. Flamethrower is so confused. Or so bad, and I'm reading chat because you don't ever hit 2 heroes with it. The odds of you consistently hitting 2 heroes with this are slim to none. The amount of damage output you can do with this one is much higher. And with that, I'm actually going to go into try mode. We're actually going to showcase this and the difference that you have post level 16 that you can go with here. And we're gonna showcase this on a target dummy. Let's set the level up. Let's say it's level, as a matter of fact, we'll bring an enemy hero out. We'll bring Arthas out and we'll showcase what it's like. All right, so Mana Addict, let's consider it done. It's done. Nether Wind, Sunfire Enchantment, Pyroblast, Pyromaniac, and Ignite. And for the sake of it, we can go Flamethrower. So we're in this situation where I'm going to D, E, auto attack, and I've now done, that's with his armor that he had, the physical armor. So in that situation, my auto attacks are going to do spell damage. But you can see off an Arthas, I was able to just 100. Now let's assume that this Arthas has taken a little bit of poke damage. Let's see if I can bait him out here. This guy, I have no idea what's happening with this Arthas. All right. AI Arthas too strong. All right, I can't hit this Arthas. He's got too many jukes, but as you can see, I don't even hit my Flamestrike. I don't even hit my Flamestrike. Let's just go down to the training dummy and we'll showcase this for this reason. Turn it on. So let's say I've got him dotted up. Auto. It's hit for 252. And then I Pyroblast. I just did 4,700 damage in that short amount of time. So I just did 4,800 damage. Auto. Let's say I get the Pyroblast out. Get a few autos. Between 4,700 to 4,900 damage, depending on how many autos I have. Now let's go and let's reset the talents and we'll try this again. Now let's assume that we're going a different build now. Let's go Sun King's Fury. We're not going to go the extra damage. And instead we'll go this way. So let's say I've got this. Auto, press R. And I'll go auto. Now I've done 4,000 to 4,200. It's the difference between getting the bonus damage auto attack here, which is 252 damage, which means I'm doing an extra 500 damage just off of auto attacks, and it's spell damage. And then I'm also looking at the fact that I'm getting bonus 15% spell power on whatever they're burning. That's the difference that we're talking about. Being able to kill somebody versus not being able to kill somebody. 15% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put it into the perspective of I'm getting the auto attack bonus, which is 500 damage auto attacks off 2 auto attacks at level 20, plus 15% spell power added onto all of this, you can see the difference between can I kill this target, can I not kill this target? And then you think about, all right, what if I had gone at level 1? What if I had gone convection? You're talking about 200 damage. This does not scale. 200 damage. I did more than that in one auto attack, right? One auto attack. And the odds of me hitting 2 people with my Q, that's 500 damage to 2 targets. I can do that much damage in 2 auto attacks with my level 7. Thus, this part of the quest already is surpassed by 2 auto attacks and not even the 15% spell damage that I'm getting. So all of a sudden, this one talent already showcases that convection is bad. Now you're saying, well, what if I go convection and this talent? Don't do that. Don't do that. So it's just, and for those that are wondering, 142 auto attack damage. This is on top. So again, I'm doing 252 spell damage on top of that. So, or I guess you're talking about 252 damage versus 142 damage. So you're talking about 220 damage more, which is still more than convection if you're talking about single target damage. So in that situation, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, you've got to consider that I'm doing 500 damage in auto attacks versus 400 potential damage on a Q hitting 2 people from that convection. So in this situation, I really wanted to showcase the value of Sunfire enchantment that a lot of people tend to get wrong. And they want to go Sun King's Fury. They want to go Burned Flesh. So in theory, you're doing more damage, single target damage, but also you add in, let's say I add in and I'm spreading damage here. Let's take a look at this. And let's say I'm Pyroblasting here. All of a sudden I've done 8,800 damage. This might not be a good area since there's 3 people here. But in the same situation, I'm going to go... And if I actually do that, I think that's a terrible example because the dummies are there and they spread damage. But in that situation, you're going to do more damage using auto attacks. And again, you're rewarded for having a higher skill cap as opposed to everything else that you're used to running. Burned Flesh, whether it's Living Bomb spread, all of that's going to have better value if you go into Mana Addict, Sunfire Enchantment, double W with your Pyromaniac to get insane cooldowns. And for that, I guess we probably could have showcased the cooldown reduction you're going to get if you go this as well, as we'll use this on a minion wave. Don't want anybody on the map. So the cooldown reduction, same for clearing a wave. Let's say we're post level 13. We're going to go in, complete quest. So if you go to level 13, you want to, you can see that that goes in, it's periodic damage. So they died actually pretty fast because the enemies are level 1. But in this situation, right, so we're going to Q, D, W, W, and you can watch the cooldowns here in terms of how fast they go. I want to kill the spell one. I could have done this maybe a little bit earlier. But either way, that was just to showcase the cooldown reduction in terms of how easy it is. Another trick that you can learn here, I want to spread Living Bomb to the enemy hero. So let's get an enemy hero in here, and let's show how that works, right? So here's another trick that if you're on Infernal Shrines, you're on any map where you're fighting on or near heroes. Remember, this does more damage to people that it goes to after, right? So I see this minion here. I know it's going to die. Well, here in a second. I know it's going to die, right? If this Arthas finally is engaging me that he didn't do earlier. So I know that he's going to fight me in the minion, right? All right, that's the terrible example. I just wanted him to fight me in the minions here. Let's just get cooldown reductions. Basically, you can insta-kill a minion, right? It's funny, this guy is actually engaging me now. So if you want to kill somebody or you want to spread Living Bomb, basically if they're not engaging on you and you can't walk into the minions to try and get that, basically you can throw this on a 2% health, 5% health minion, and it will spread to the enemy hero. Let's see if we can get this guy down. Arthas no longer wants to come and fight me. All right. AI does not help this situation. Anyways, you can use this to instantly blow that up, and it blows up the thing, and as you can see, it killed the minion next to it. But also for the sake of blowing it up on a target. If you're on Infernal Shrines, you see a low health skeletal minion, throw it on the low health skeletal minion. It will instantly explode, spread to an enemy near you, which does more damage when it spreads. Plus, it's going to help blow up the things around you. Maybe snipe a few for yourself as well. But that's it, man. A lot of people I know, you're very used to running Convection or Mana Addict. Nether Wind is pretty standard. Sun King's Fury and Burn Flesh. This is the one where I think that a lot of people out there could learn that Kael'thas has a much higher ceiling. With this talent here, you're doing bonus damage, you're doing single target damage, and you're getting 15% spell power. Cooldown reduction, DWW. A lot of people that are out there, they press DQ, and they go Pyromaniac, and then they press W on one target. You don't always DW, right? But you can DWW, get greater cooldown reduction, Q first, DWW, or some form or another. But either way, getting double Living Bombs out, getting that cooldown reduction, going Ignite, and then going Flamethrower is the way to go, man. So play it a little bit different. See how you feel about the hero. There's definitely a lot of things you can do differently in that situation. But Kael'thas, if you play it a little bit different, you're going to find that you're going to do more damage, more consistently, more single target damage, and it's not Convection, and you're using Sun Fury's enchantment and actually auto-attacking as a mage. It's a little scary at first to be able to auto-attack as a mage instead of press W and Q, run away, come back and do it again. Try it out, see how you like it, and that's Kael'thas.